Joan of Arc was born in 1412 in Domremy, France, to a peasant family. She began to receive visions from the Holy Spirit at the age of 13, and she was told to help the French king defeat the English. However, when Joan of Arc said that she had received a revelation from God to help the French king Charles VII defeat the English, did Charles VII believe that Joan of Arc had received a revelation from God? Tony, can you tell me about it?
No, Gina. Charles VII did not believe Joan of Arc at first. When Joan of Arc met Charles VII in 1429 and told him that she had received a vision from God to help him defeat the English, Charles VII did not believe her at first. However, when Joan of Arc defeated the English at the siege warfare of Orleans and helped Charles VII to be crowned in Reims Cathedral, Charles VII believed Joan of Arc's words. Charles VII appointed Joan of Arc as commander-in-chief of his army, and she led the French army to victory. She helped Charles VII defeat the English and liberate Orleans on May 8, 1429.
Joan of Arc was appointed commander-in-chief of the French army, but at the time, women were not allowed to lead armies in the Middle Ages. Is that right, Tony?
Yes, that's right, Bella. She was a woman, and at the time, women not allowed to lead armies. She was also inexperienced. She was only 17 years old and had little experience in commanding an army. Women were not allowed to lead armies in the 15th century because they were generally considered to be physically weaker than men, intellectually inferior, and in need of male protection. Women were also considered to be subordinate to male authority. However, Joan of Arc defied these prejudices and led the army. She defeated the English with her brilliant strategy and courage and led the French army to victory. She inspired the French people and is revered as a national hero who died for the independence of France. Joan of Arc's story is that of a great woman who fought for women's rights. She was one of the first women to show that women are equal to men. The French army that Joan of Arc led was much smaller than the English army. The French army was also poorly equipped. She faced the stubborn resistance of the English army. However, Joan of Arc overcame these difficulties and defeated the English army.
Yes, she totally defeated the English army, Tony. She led the French army with her brilliant strategy and courage, and eventually achieved a great victory in liberating Orleans. The victory of Joan of Arc raised the morale of the French people, and eventually France won the 100 Years' War against England in 1453. Joan of Arc did a great job for her country as a woman. It seems like she had God's help. Don't you think, Tony?
Yes, I think so, Cindy. Some people believe that Joan of Arc was able to win because she received visions from God. Others believe that she was able to win only with her brilliant strategy and courage. Many devout people claim that Joan of Arc's victory was God's will. However, in 1430, Joan of Arc was captured by the Burgundian army while carrying out an independent operation after being separated from the army of Charles VII. She was leading the French army in the battle in Compiègne when she was attacked by the Burgundian army and captured. Joan of Arc was extradited to Rouen by the Burgundian army and handed over to the English. She was tortured several times. Her hair and clothes were torn, and she was dragged around with a rope around her neck. She also had to stand trial in English and without a lawyer. Joan of Arc suffered greatly from these tortures and trials, both mentally and physically.
Joan of Arc suffered a lot from the British Army. A very sad thing happened. By the way, the British Army accused Joan of Arc of heresy and put her on trial. What exactly is heresy? Tony, can you tell me what it is?
Yes, Gina. Heresy is the crime of rejecting or criticizing the teachings of the Church. In the Middle Ages, heresy was considered a very serious crime, and those convicted of heresy were burned at the stake. Joan of Arc was accused of heresy because she claimed to have received visions from God and wore men's clothing to fight in the war. She was tried for heresy and burned at the stake in Rouen on May 30, 1431. The trial was unfair to Joan of Arc. She was only 19 years old at the time, and she had no knowledge of the law. She was also not given a lawyer. The trial was also processed in English, and Joan of Arc did not speak English. For these reasons, Joan of Arc was found guilty and burned at the stake. Joan of Arc's story is a tragic one. She was a young woman who was wrongly convicted of heresy and executed. However, her story is also one of inspiration. She was a brave and determined woman who fought for what she believed in. Her story continues to inspire people around the world today.
She was tried for heresy and burned at the stake in Rouen on May 30th, 1431. What was the scene like? Was she miserable? Was she a calm expression?
Before her execution, John carried the cross to the square like Jesus. She calmly climbed onto the stake and put a rope around her neck. As the flames began to rise, John cried out, "Oh Jesus, help me!" She burned to death for 15 minutes. The burning of Joan of Arc was a shock to the French people. However, her death inspired the French people to resist even harder. In the end, the French people defeated the English in the 100 Years' War in 1453. Joan of Arc is revered as a national hero who died for the independence of France. The burning of Joan of Arc was a terrible tragedy. She was a young woman who died in a fire. Her death inspired the French people, and her story is never forgotten.
The death of Joan of Arc was a shock to the French people. Many people believed that she was innocent and demanded a retrial. In 1455, King Charles VII of France ordered a retrial of Joan of Arc. The retrial lasted until 1456, and Joan of Arc was eventually acquitted.
The acquittal of Joan of Arc was a great joy to the French people, and she was revered as a national hero. Although she had already been burned at the stake, her acquittal restored her honor. Joan of Arc was declared innocent by Pope Calixtus III in 1456 and canonized by Pope Benedict XV in 1920.
She is revered as a national hero of France and is considered a symbol of the courage and hope of the French people. Her story continues to inspire people around the world today. Thank you for watching the video, Joan of Arc, provided by History and Current Events. Gina, Cindy, Bella, and Tony have contributed so far as narrators. Thank you.